It is time for another It Takes a Community to Play segment with Sport Manitoba, proudly presented by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries. And been looking forward to this one for a while. He is the executive director of the Manitoba Soccer Association. But I think most fans know him as one of the most decorated officials in Manitoba history in probably any sport. Let's welcome in Hector Vergara from the MSA. Hector, what is up? It's great to have you on Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Hi, Andrew, and thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
It's an absolute pleasure. I mean, we've spoken to, listen, let's start about your start right now, because it truly is an incredible run that continues today. I mean, I think I first heard of you when we heard this guy from Winnipeg is officiating and reffing in the World Cup, but your time as official goes back decades. Fill us in about starting on being a part of the game, not from either team side, but as the guy with the whistle and dropping the ball.
Well, it started when I was 16 years old. At that time, you used to take your referee entry-level course was youth level C, and you got to go to B and level A, and then you started with levels 3, 2, 1 before you became even provincial referee, a nominated referee, national referee, a national referee, then FIFA. Long process to get to the highest level of the game in officiating. And for me, it started mainly because I enjoyed playing. I played it a lot. I was born in South America, and that's, for us in South America, soccer is a religion. So we played it all the time. And when I got here as a youngster, about 12 years old, I continued to play it. And then I got to the point where one of the games I needed a referee, and a coach said, "Well, why don't you do it?" kind of thing. And they liked what I did, and all of a sudden they encouraged me to take a course, and I took the course, started officiating games, and got pretty good at it pretty fast. By the time at that point, and even now, you really don't officiate your own age. You can officiate 2 years. You have to be 2 years older than the teams. And by the time I was 17, 18, I was officiating men's games. So it advanced pretty quick for me in that sense. And by the time I was 19 years old, I was doing games in the CP, what used to be the CSL, the Canadian Soccer League, and the Winnipeg Fury. And quickly advanced there to become a FIFA assistant referee by the age of 26. At that time, the youngest Canadian to ever be on the FIFA list. And from there in, it just took off. And it's been an amazing journey, to be honest.
When you first started doing it, did you think was this just listen, hey, I love the game, I'm going to still be playing, this is a good way to stay involved, and instead of working at the corner store, I get a chance to go out and spend some time on the pitch? Was it as simple as that?
Yeah, the reality is for many young referees, that's how you start. Is that you either work at McDonald's, and at that time back, I'm really aging myself now. We used to have the paper routes, right? In the morning, early morning paper routes that you could make some money. So I either had the option of working at McDonald's, running the paper route, or officiating soccer, the sport I love, and then making some money on it. And by the time I started officiating and I saw the checks coming in, it was pretty good money. So I kept doing it. And like I said, I got better and better at it. And I got a good support system at home and a good support system with the officiating community. And I just kept growing and growing, and it kept on going. It's something that it's a way of being in the game itself, and enjoying it.
Well, listen, we'll get to some of the incredible places that officiating has taken you, but I want to go back to kind of when you said you had a very quick or rapid advancement through the levels. At what point did it go from being just a way to be involved and make a little extra money to something that you thought that, I mean, maybe there's a future for me in this? And at what point did you even know the sort of things that could possibly be in your future?
Well, at that point, I was new to Canada. I didn't really know a lot about the sports system in Manitoba and in Canada. I didn't even know that there was provincial teams for soccer. I didn't even try for the provincial team in soccer. And I was a pretty good athlete. Like, I played high school basketball. I played high school volleyball. I won MVPs in all those sports. I was athlete of the year 3 times in high school and junior high. And I was pretty athletic and enjoyed the sports. And being part of the all-star teams in many different sports. And in soccer, funny enough, I just played for the community center. I didn't really play for an all-star team in the province. And then I started officiating. I said, well, like you said, there's an opportunity here for me to actually grow in the sport at a higher level. Even if I cannot play it, I can officiate in it. Never ever thought that I would go to a World Cup. I always thought if I could become a national referee in this sport, it'd be great. Opportunities in Canada to do things. By the time I was 26, I was ahead of that curve, and I was already a FIFA assistant referee, and yet not a national referee. Even though I was doing CPL, Canada Soccer League at that point, not CPL, Canada Soccer League games with the Fury, I was officiating by 24, 25. I was already doing games in the middle as a referee, and it's also an assistant referee. In that time, they were called linesmen. They were not assistant referees. And then slowly ended up going. And then this is when it really hit me, is when I went to a under 15 national competition in Ontario, and a FIFA instructor saw me and recommended me for the FIFA list, and I was accepted. And immediately after I was accepted, when I was 26, I was back in 1993, and I went to my first under 17 World Cup immediately. And I did so well at the World Cup that I ended up officiating the third and fourth place final, which happened to be Chile and Poland. And obviously, I was born in Chile. So the people back home in Chile were glued to that TV because the games were in Japan. The under 17s were in Japan. And they were all glued to that TV. And the media in Chile was all over it and trying to interview me in Japan and all this kind of stuff. So it was a wild ride in the sense of I had more coverage in Chile about me being an assistant referee from Canada, born in Chile, representing Canada in officiating the Chilean national team under 17. That was a good generation of Chilean soccer players. And then being in the media, being in interviews and stuff like that. I had family back home where they were all staying up in the middle of the night watching the games and stuff. It was crazy.
Not too often the ref gets as much love from the media. It's good to see the stripes get taken care of. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned that your first experience you get in. For people that are not familiar with your journey, tell us about where officiating has taken you around the world, and particularly the highlights of being involved in the granddaddy of them all, the FIFA World Cup.
I've been very fortunate. I've been very lucky in that sense. And you have to have a little bit of luck. People say you have to have skill, you have to have ability, but you also have to have a little bit of luck and be at the right place at the right time. And I was at the beginning. Once FIFA saw my quality as an assistant referee, as an official, it was very, very helpful. And also I speak Spanish fluently. That was also very helpful. I ended up participating in. I could go on forever, but I ended up participating in 11 FIFA competitions. I cover all of the ages, under 17s, under 20s, the Olympics, the Confederation, the Gold Cups. I ended up doing in my career 6 Gold Cups, and in 3 of them I was in the final. I did, like I said, 11 FIFA competitions at the highest level. Of them, 3 were the World Cup, the Men's World Cup, of which in 2 of them I was the third and fourth place final, and one of them was the semifinal, Germany, Italy, nonetheless, in 2006.
Wow.
In 2002, I was the only official in the entire world who did 6 matches at the World Cup. No other official at the World Cup in 2002, Korea, Japan, did more games than I did. And I reached 14 international World Cup matches before anybody else in the world did. So it's a pretty I don't know what the word is, to be honest, to describe it, because it's pretty unreal.
It's
pretty unreal
amazing
experience when you think about it. I never thought I was going to be at that level ever. And then my journey took me to the other side of the equation when we decided to retire on the 11th of 11th was my final match. Funny enough, in a little country in the Caribbean where there was only 10 people watching the game, and it was a World Cup qualifier for the Caribbean team in that time. But imagine an unknown place with one of my best friends doing the game, and in a cow pasture. To be honest, it was nothing like a World Cup. And from then on, I moved on to the side of being on the FIFA referee committee for 5 years, on the CONCACAF referee committee for a number of years, Canada Soccer referee committee for a number of years. I moved on to being an instructor and an assessor, and I ended up at the end adding more World Cups to my resume by being in those roles. I probably have about 18 World Cups in total that I've attended, including the men's and the women's side. So yeah, Andrew, if you asked me if I ever thought it was going to be possible, never.
Well, no, and it's such a, I mean, such an incredible story because, I mean, when we look at these events, we're talking about the athletes and the players, but there's so many other aspects of huge events. But I mean, we can take this right down to Manitoba right now. I mean, the games don't happen without officials and without support staff. And there's nobody better to speak to about the importance of officiating than someone with your officiating experience, but also someone that's now running the Manitoba Soccer Association. I mean, let's forward to right now in your position. How important are, I mean, this is a huge grassroots program. There are so many people playing. It continues to grow. Um, from your job right now as the executive director of the Manitoba Soccer Association, speak to the importance of officials and getting people in to start their journeys like you did back when you were 16.
No, it's crucial. It's crucial to not only soccer, it's crucial to every single sport in our
Everyone.
province, and everyone needs it. And the reality is that we're all suffering from a shortage of referees. Without the referees, there is no competitive and recreational games in our province. The reality that this is a reality, and you will hear it. I mean, we heard it through the COVID years, when we lost 40% of young referees and 20% of senior referees for our matches. And then the subsequent years, we were actually having games without referees because we just didn't have the bodies. Not because we don't want to assign referees, simply because we don't have the bodies. And the reality is that the parents, the coaches, the players are all going to complain right away if in a certain level of competition does not have referees. And sure, we can talk about long-term player development concepts, and we can talk about the fact that in certain age categories, maybe you need game leaders instead of referees. But once you get to the competitive side of things, even the recreational side of 13 plus ages, there's a lot of kids playing the game, and there's a lot of games that are happening, and you need a lot of referees. And we have been fortunate this year, finally, after being in this organization for so many years, I finally see that there is a high interest. We've had over 700 people on a waiting list to take referee entry level course. That's never ever been seen in Manitoba soccer's history. And hopefully, the work that we've been doing to recruit them is going to help us also retain them in the game. But without the young referees, without the young referee that says, "Look, I'm gonna, instead of having a part-time job in the summer, I'm gonna officiate the sport that I love and make some money," and falling in love with it, it's difficult to keep the referees in the system. It's difficult to recruit them. It's difficult to retain them. There is a lot of things that a young referee, and I probably had an opportunity when I started, and now I understand what they go through because I lived it. I lived it in my own skin, in the sense that there was many times when I felt like, why am I doing this? I'm getting complaints from parents, from players, from coaches, and I'm one of those referees that I was fortunate to know the game, come from a country that I understood the game fairly well. So my experience was more positive, in the sense that I could learn the game quicker. And I had a very quick move. I moved very quickly through the different levels, and because of that, I felt comfortable. I felt confident, and I knew I was doing a good job. So I was one of the better referees, and because of that, my experience were not as negative as others may have been. So I didn't get as many complaints as others do. But if your experience isn't the same and you haven't had the opportunity to learn the game yet, and you're just learning it, you're gonna make mistakes. You're a human being. You're gonna make mistakes. No different than a coach makes mistakes when he's learning how to coach. No different than a player makes mistakes when they're learning how to play. The referee's the same. They're gonna make mistakes, and sometimes we're not very forgiving. And the parents, the players, the coaches are not forgiving of the mistakes that the young people are making. And you would think if you were found, imagine your son, your daughter, 13, 14 years old, out on the field and being yelled and screamed at by parents. You are probably going to tell your daughter and son, why are you doing this? You can go to work at McDonald's and you're not going to yell and scream like this. And this is an issue that happens not only in soccer, it happens in hockey, it happens in every sport. So at the end of the day, it's important for us to realize as a sports community, as players, coaches, parents, that we need to support the officiating side of things as well as supporting the growth of the players and the coaches, because otherwise, without them, it's very difficult to have the competition, and it's very difficult without having the patience from the parents and the coaches and the players to actually have the officials grow and develop, and it takes, like, really literally, it takes, in soccer we've proven that it takes between 5 and 10 years to make a really good referee. 5 to 10 years of patience on behalf of the
And they
competition, on
need to be
behalf of
supported.
absolutely. So not only supported from their own internal support systems, being parents and friends and colleagues, but also from the leagues, also from the associations, also from the coaches and parents. Because at the end of the day, like you said it earlier, without those individuals, it's very difficult to have a sport be successful.
Well, and I mean, you made the point already. I mean, coming out of the pandemic, which was unique, worldwide for everybody, but we kind of saw what things could be like without officials, and games just won't be played. Hector, it's such a fascinating conversation, and I think back to the respect and sport programs that Sport Manitoba and other provincial bodies and national bodies are putting forth are very important. But also each sport doing their best to welcome in people, get them involved in a variety of things. I'll get you to speak to soccer, but I'll remind everyone that whatever sport you might be interested in, they're looking for people. I can pretty much assure you that officials are in demand for people that are willing to go and give it a shot. And for soccer, I'll ask you, if someone was thinking about that, I love the game, I'd love to start that journey or be involved and get on the pitch. How do people get involved? How do they find out more about taking the course and beginning their journey? And I imagine it'll be very similar in other sports as well under the Sport Manitoba umbrella.
For us, you contact the Manitoba Soccer Association. Our website has a referee section where you can register for clinics. But if you need more information, by all means, contact our referee department in the Manitoba Soccer Referee Association. We will provide you with guidelines and provide you with instructions on how to actually take the course. And we're supporting. We did a lot of recruitment this year by going directly to the players themselves to have them become interested in the sport, become interested in officiating. So we did a little bit of a direct email attack, let's say, promoting the sport, promoting refereeing, and we have great numbers of individuals who want to actually take the entry level course. And so we are adapting that to that. We now change our entry level courses from being all in person to doing half of it online, so that is more accessible for individuals who have a hard time getting to different locations for the courses, and only doing part of it in person. And instead of being 2 days, it's now a 1 day in person. The rest of it is all online, self-learning, like kids nowadays learn on their own. They don't necessarily need an adult in front of them. And Canada Soccer has been really good at preparing this material, which is now consistent across the country. Every province is doing the same thing. So if you went from one province to another, you learn the same information. You have the same information. So we're very happy with the numbers now, and we're now working. This is our heavy month, April, of doing courses. So if anybody's interested, this is the time to get involved and quickly get in contact with us. And then in May, we already start to assign games and get people out there, and then we send out mentors We send out assessors to support the new referees so that we can try and keep them in the game. And we do education sessions on a monthly basis to make sure that they're being kept up to the laws of the game changes, as well as any particular
There,
things that could help them to become better referees.
there's a lot that goes into it, but it all starts with that first call or inquiry to get involved. Hector, this has been an absolute pleasure. All the best to you and everybody playing the beautiful game this summer here in our province, especially at all the young referees. And a reminder, folks, that these are people. Many of them at a younger age are just getting started. I mean, supporting them, much like you would do coaches and players, incredibly important. And Hector, we may have to touch base coming up a little later on this summer, as well as with the World Cup coming, in the future to Canada. There's a lot of exciting things, in the big picture for Canada soccer, but it all starts on the pitch right here in our communities. Thanks so much for doing this.
No problem. I appreciate you having us. Take care.
Hector Vergara, the Executive Director of the Manitoba Soccer Association, with us with another It Takes a Community to Play segment for Sport Manitoba, brought to you by Manitoba Liquor and Lotteries.